Shweta, I think let's start, and meanwhile, we'll add on the people, those who will be coming in between. Okay,
Sure, fair enough. I think that would be best because it's already 5:10 and we need to respect everyone's time for sure.
please go
Uh,
ahead.
yeah, hi everyone, good evening. I think it would be great if everyone just turns on their camera because that'll just give us a feeling that at least even distances apart, we're still having a conversation. Thanks, Manisha. Thanks, Prabhat. Thanks, Manoj. Thanks,
Thank you so
Arjun
much.
and Jaideep. Um, yeah. All right. Thank you so much, first of all, for being here. And thanks for making me a part of this wonderful conversation. And I think I'll just allow Manoj to give us a brief introduction of this webinar, of what we are doing here today, what are we looking at here today, and then I'll take it forward from there. Please, Manoj.
Okay, thank you for giving me this opportunity. So basically, this is the tourism talks, and what we have saw in past few days. Uh, there are not much happening in tourism sector, and uh, but this is a big market, right? To support with this idea and to support this kind of startup, we have initiated the Odisha Tourism Acceleration Program. Again, this is not only dedicated focused uh, only to only towards Odisha tourism, but again, we are receiving application from completely pan India. And in line with that, to create awareness and to promote the tourism culture also, we have initiated this tourism talk series where we have focused on four aspects of uh, tourism sector. One is challenges, one is possible solutions, one is the opportunities there, and another thing is the success, those who have achieved it. Okay, so we have completed two aspects to this, and here we are for the third session. Uh, this is how it goes. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Manoj. Now, when we think about tourism, a lot of pictures come to our mind, right? Unless we have seen the other niche of tourism where experience a slow living, a slow form of travel, living in rural areas and experiencing the minute details of a certain location. The tourism in India is primarily confined to concrete, right? So I think that we can define two tourisms in India, a concrete tourism and a real sustainable tourism. And of course, as we look forward, we are going to today talk about the multiple aspects of this tourism that we are looking forward to, in especially the sustainable tourism, especially how we are going to capitalize on that, especially how we are going to brand that, because things are evolving and we have to evolve. Right. Now, without taking much time, I'll just introduce all our speakers here. Um, First, let me introduce Mr. Sharad Bansal, who's the founder and managing partner for Warm Up Ventures. And of course, being a venture capitalist, I'm sure he's going to give us pretty interesting insights on how to capitalize all the tourism, ideas that we have. And then we have Mr. Arjun Akrwala, CA Arjun Akrwala, if I must mention, because that's a hard-earned title, who's also the founder for Rogue Opportunities. But of course, I'm sure he'll come up with some interesting finance-related insights on where we see this country in terms of tourism. And now we have two very amazing women with us over here, Manisha, Miss Manisha Pandey, who's the managing director of Village Ways Private Limited, and she's been in this industry of rural tourism for the last 20 years or more, which says a lot to have really given so much time of your life to a different genre of tourism altogether at a time when it was not even popular. And then, of course, we have Miss Meenakshi Mehta, the publisher, Outlook Publishing. I don't think it needs much introduction. We all know Outlook, we all read Outlook, and we are really grateful to have you guys here. I will request everyone to introduce yourself, give us a little more information about who you are, where you come from, what you do, a little tidbit about your work. We can start with Mr. Sharad, Arjun, Manisha ma'am, and of course, Meenakshi.
Sorry, in what order you wanted?
Please start. You can start.
So should I introduce myself? Like you have done that already. Can you repeat the question?
No, not the question. Just tell us a little more about, apart from the, who are you apart from the designation?
I thought that you have already done the introduction. So, thank you so much, Shweta. So, I have been running my own ventures last 8, 9 years into education technology space, and that I started right after my graduation. So, it was a college-born idea into education technology, and we used to work with the schools across India to provide more science and technology education there. In that journey, we worked with about 2,000 odd schools, raised a couple of rounds, exited initial investors. And then last 4, 5 years, I've been also participating in early stage companies and is in small angel space. Uh, and then we made a group of friends, basically other startup founders who were also writing checks. And then we realized that, okay, uh, this founders capital, if this can come in early stage companies, uh, in the form of a single VC check. That would be really, really useful for companies to actually grow and get not only just the capital, but also a lot of strategic input, support, suggestions there. So that is how the Warm Up Ventures originated, and it's a 1 year old fund. Uh, no idea is to invest into early stage companies in pre-seed, seed stage. Um, uh, and typically we are a sector agnostic fund, but we, based on the founders and operators network we have realized that we keep getting that internal insights about the potential hidden opportunities in each of the sectors. Like if we are talking about travel today, how I gain my knowledge is, of course, from secondary sources, but also a lot of primary research comes from the founders who are working in the sector. And that helps us to identify, okay, is there an opportunity existing in this space, or this is an opportunity which is not solved efficiently, or this can scale. So this is how the approach works. Uh, we have done about 10 investments so far from the fund. Prior to that, the personal portfolio among the three partners is about 100 odd companies. But from the fund, we plan to do about 30 odd investments in 2 years in different sectors, preferably tech-enabled companies or tech-first companies, which could be in any sector. So yeah, that's about us and me, is building a founders-led fund backed by a lot of other startup founders and trying to support early stage founders.
Thank you so much, Sharad. Arjun, if you are here, please.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone. This is Arjun Akrwala. As mentioned by Shweta, that I'm a chartered accountant, and but by passion I am a very travel enthusiast, and as a chartered accountant, also my practice started by consulting in tourism and travel sector. I did it for a decade, and in 2019, along with four, we set up a startup seed funding advisory firm, which is called Rogue Opportunities. We generally help startups which are in a very early stage to get their seed funding. We mentor them. It's more like an accelerator, and we have currently tied up with several funds. Like probably, we'll be happy to connect with Sharad. Similar, the people who are having their own fund, we connect with them. We give them access to some very grassroots level startups, and we make sure that they get access to the correct funds and correct VCs or private equities, as in when which stage of the life cycle they are. Uh, Coming back to tourism and travel sector, post COVID, when in COVID the entire country felt that tourism is gone. For 1 year, most of the small SME, micro SME travel agents, most of the household uh, travel agents who were working from their home, who used to run a travel agency, they all were shut down. But post COVID, the revenge tourism is what they said. The revenge tourism, the way they started, and this boom has been never seen in previous decades. All the hotels, all the uh, outbound, inbound travel agency, they all are booming. Currently, the average occupancy rates has gone up by 100% in the last 3 years. So this is the right time when some technology tech-enabled startup fill in the gap of various grassroots level problems this tourism sector or of the customers who are facing when connecting with this tourism sector. Since years, it's a very traditional business to book an air ticket or book an hotel. If someone comes up with a unique idea which makes the life easy of a business traveler who is a very frequent.
Arjun, I think there's some error with your network because your
I
screen is
guess
frozen
we lost the
and
connection.
yeah, yeah, your voice also missed.
Just a second. Am I back? Am I audible? Am I audible now? Probably a bit of fluctuation. Am I audible now?
You're audible, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
very
So I
clear.
was saying, so something, some innovation. Yeah. Some innovation can be a game changing in this sector. Can be a game changing in this sector. So we just get them the right funds, get them the right access. And that's what coming up the background of chartered accountancy, I'm very good with numbers. So I go through the numbers, I do the due diligence, and I give the VCs and private equities the companies they're looking forward to. That's what we do. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you so much, Arjun. Thank you. All right, moving on to Miss Manisha Pandey. Please tell us more about your work.
Hello, everyone. It's a really great pleasure to be here today, and thank you to Nalanda for the opportunity and to meet the other fellow panelists. We actually, to be honest, in the sense of a startup, yes, we really didn't know whether this was a startup or it was something which we started because it was a need for the communities. So for us, this business model actually evolved around the issues which the communities were facing at that time. And therefore and in fact, not that we had arrived at a model of a business model right from the beginning. We were also contemplating other models around like NGO model or a trust model, but we realized that over a period of time, if you want to make something sustainable over a longer period, you need to have self-funded opportunities. And that is where I think the social enterprise model turned into a business model also, where we coupled both the aspects of a very strong social reason to set it up, as well as how it can be successfully run as a business. So profiting the community upwards, everything goes from bottom upwards. So in that process, we started working with the local communities in a wildlife protected area. And the major challenge faced at that time was out migration. So you can say that for us, the major reason for starting Village Ways was how we could stop out migration. And the reason for out migration was lack of livelihood. And a tourism became a tool for bringing in the livelihood for the local communities. But what it actually surprised us is that it not only affected the communities in terms of livelihood, but it started impacting the communities in many other ways and very positive ways. For example, how it could preserve their social and traditional lives, how it could also impact the environmental impacts, how they could get more closer to the surroundings. So over a period of time, we realized that this form of tourism not only impacted economy, but it also impacted many other aspects in a community. And the success of the business lies in customer satisfaction, as they say that everything finally has to be marketable, because nothing can really work if it is not marketed well. And I think this goes for every business, everything that we do. So unless the market research is done, coincidentally, we had support for the marketing. So we were able to launch all our village enterprises very well in the market, and therefore there was a constant flow of guests who came. So all our guests, every time we ask them what has been the highlight of their trips, they say that this has been the privilege to know the people and meet the real people of your country. So I think, and post COVID, I agree that tourism did find a big jolt for us as a small, model of Village Ways. We also had a big difficulty to sustain ourselves. But over the next phase, when we talk in details about the other aspects, I will explain how we have been able to survive through the COVID, challenges. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, COVID actually really disrupted quite a lot in the country. Tourism being one of the biggest hits. Definitely. All right, now moving to the last, but definitely not the least, Meenakshi Mehta. Please tell us a little more about yourself beyond Outlook.
Greetings, everyone. I hope all of us are doing very well. Uh, so I represent the Outlook Traveler as a title. I'm the publisher at Outlook Traveler. So uh, I mean, as Shweta said, it doesn't need any introduction, but I'll still try and introduce ourselves to all of you. As Outlook Traveler, we've been in India for almost about 22 years, and we're the only homegrown publication that exists in India as of now on travel news and travel information. We were the pioneers, and we were the first ones to actually talk about how to travel to the Indian audience as well. So in 22 years of our journey in India, we know we've mapped the entire of India very well, and that's the reason we very confidently say that we know India best. And while knowing India best, we know that we've kind of gone so close to the culture of India that we really say that we know the Indian traveler very well, and we know the Indian audience very well. So that's what our strength is, that when we say that we celebrate India through our publication, through our platform of Outlook Traveler. We really like when people come and share their travel stories with us. We really feel so happy that we've created a platform in so many years, that people do trust our content, people do trust the kind of itineraries that we put for them, and they come back and share their experiences with us. So that's the kind of platform we are today as Outlook Traveler. In fact, 10 years back, we started our journey with responsible tourism as a subject. When 10 years back, honestly, people did not even know the meaning of responsible tourism. But we still, understood the relevance of future travel and launched a campaign on responsible tourism, where we, through our publication, through our platform, we started educating the travelers as to how to travel responsibility. Very minute details, as in, do not litter. So those are the kind of things that we started doing about 10 years back. And we tied up with UNWTO in India and started on this journey of responsible tourism. Today, we are very, very proud to say that we've created a platform called Responsible Tourism Initiative of ours, through which we've been kind of rallying and protecting the heritage of India. And Manisha, of course, would be knowing, and she's been associated with us on this through responsible tourism. And so this through our platform and our initiative of Outlook Responsible Tourism, we've been rallying to protect, as I said, rallying to protect and uh, preserve India's heritage. Be it a monument or an art form, or an endangered bird for that matter, or a musical tradition, which is a rural phenomena in our own country, or anywhere else in any other country as well. But we are believers of sustainable and responsible tourism, and we do it by celebrating people, by supporting people and planet-friendly travel companies, hotels, homestays, and we do it by telling travelers the beautiful stories, beautiful journeys that they can take, and be responsible while taking these journeys. So that's where we are as a platform on Outlook Traveler today, and we are very proud to say that we've created something where we've created communities. We today engaged with almost 6,000 communities in India, and it's growing. And we celebrate the 10th year of responsible tourism in India today. Yeah, that's where we are. And thank you for giving me the responsibility to be here.
That was a beautiful wordplay. In fact, I've been following the Responsible Tourism Awards for quite a while, which it's such a
Brilliant.
wonderful way to encourage, ventures to, or upcoming startups to dive into responsible tourism primarily. And there are such beautiful examples across the country at the moment of, albeit on a small scale, but people are trying, and thank you for bringing them all to light, through the platform.
Thank
Right.
you.
You ended your introduction note on culture, historical heritage, sustainability, rural tourism, responsible tourism. That is where we'll start our discussion for the day. We Here we are trying to see how we can leverage India's unique aspects, India's unique resources, and of course, these resources are not just scenic landscapes where you uh, erupt a big concrete structure and create a hotel. But like you mentioned, the beautiful diversity in terms of people, culture, history, communities, right? So maybe for the next few minutes, we could all give, I would love if everyone gives their input, especially the ones who come with experience in this, like Manisha and Meenakshi. Give us an idea about how you see the role and the importance of this cultural heritage in tourism over here in the country today and as we go forward. Because preservation of the same is still a challenge at the moment, given the kind of urbanization that is, taking over. So how do you see it going forward from here? If
So,
Yeah,
okay, so my perspective would be on that. It's a very good point which you have raised and very nicely said by the fellow panelist. But see, there is no doubt about it. The culture which our country has, and also the tourism opportunities which we. I will give you just couple of examples. I come from Gujarat, Ahmedabad. Okay, in Gujarat there is this run of Kutch. No one knew about the desert, and there's this white run of Kutch. It is white sand. Across India, there is the only desert with white sand. It is pristine white sand. It's so neat and clean. Still, the nature has kept it clean. Still, no one was aware about it. Just few years back, I will say 5 to 6 years back, government took an initiative. Then the private entities came together. It was a coercive. It was a measure taken by public-private relationship, and now there is waiting for more than 12 to 15 months to get a good room during the festival in Kutch, run of Kutch. So, see, opportunity is there. The biggest benefit which we have is demographics. The population, the young population, they are hungry for traveling to new adventurous destinations. See the trekking amount of this time in Mount Everest, actually there's been waiting. There's been a big queue for just climbing Mount Everest. So the opportunities which we have in adventure tourism, in leisure tourism, also in land, mountain, deserts, waters, beaches, backwaters, everything we have. The only point is that we need to make sure about how much opportunities we give to them and how much accessibility we give to them. That's why I during my introduction I clarified that there are so many ignited brains in our universities when they have some innovative ideas how to bridge this gap. I will give you one small example, then you can take the views of the others also. That in Kolkata, near in the eastern part of it, there are water cruises. Now these water cruises were never the publicity and marketing was not done the way the international cruises are doing it. In just few years back, there is a company which came forward and started selling these water cruises to international tourists. They said that have an experience of the water cruise of the East India, which is now being developed by the government. In last 2 years, there has been so many international tourists post COVID who have been traveling to eastern part of the country to having this water cruise, which is on Brahmaputra River. So this isolated opportunities needs to be identified. They need to be made accessible to the public need hygiene, good facilities, and budget friendly travel options. If this can be done, there is a vast opportunity. People need to come out of the common hill stations which are actually getting a burden of over tourism. There are so many unexplored places across the country, which is the example of a rich diversity culture and even the nature beauty which our country has, which is a very rare combination. We need to make it, and there's no doubt about it. If someone comes with this idea, the market is waiting for them, and people are waiting to travel there. So every year, and now with social media, there are few destinations, few countries which become a social media sensation, and you see the tourists flocking across that there. No one had heard about Baku, Azerbaijan 5 years back. Today, you see across the globe there is a sensation. Everyone wants to go to Baku or Bali. Why not in India? Such destination is being made viral. Why not in India? Such in a place which is yet not been marketed is marketed in a level wherein the international or the domestic tourists come forward and new destinations are being identified, so that the burden on the existing destination may reduce further, and it gives an equal opportunity for the people who are yet not at that position. So that's what my view is. Would like
Right.
to
I think I'll just it all the points that you mentioned raises a pertinent question, which I'd really love to hear from Manisha and Meenakshi on, is the question of sustainability. Bringing lesser known destinations to light, of course, is a great point in terms of economy, but what about the preservation? So, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to come in here because both of you made very interesting points. Arjun, of course, hitting the right concept of, dispersing tourists from the main zones where primarily our cultural and monumental things are highlighted, where, in terms of India as a whole. So I think that's a key point, how you disperse it, because mass tourism is not just a problem in India, it's everywhere now. And the problem is that all the cultural experiences as well as all the monumental heritage that we see is primarily in the main key points where the most of the tourists are going. But in terms of dispersing these to the areas which are lesser known, you've raised the right point, Shweta, that again, how do you ensure then that the impacts of those will not be bad for those communities or those regions, because it's more vulnerable even than the cities. So I think what we have in terms of, all the operators as a responsibility, I think is most important is, of course, wherever we are dispersing the travelers, wherever we are building an alternative option for people to go to, wherever we are also supporting the cultural aspects of a region so that people get better connections with people as well as the local culture. So there are 2 points which work around that. First, in terms of the ground, the community sometimes don't identify a lot of things as value. They have to be made to, understand and respect, and eventually they understand the value because for them, these are very normal aspects. They don't consider it a big highlight. So first work is at the ground level when you actually work with the local communities to make them feel and understand that they have a lot of their cultural heritage, which can be very interesting for guests to come and see and also get connected with their regions for a long time. So it's not going to be only one-time visits. That's the reason also we get repeat guests almost at the order of 15% every year. So I think, but having said that, your question about the vulnerability of these regions is very important to handle, because whilst all the operators might like to develop certain things which are unknown, fairly unknown in terms of the tourism attractions, but equally it's a responsibility for us to check the carrying capacity. Now, there is no definition of carrying capacity. I know there's nothing called, a check of carrying capacity, but at your level, if you can even check the population of an area, what kind of benefits you would like the communities to have or a region to have, making sure that they are not displacing it with any traditional practices that they do. You probably then balance out the income from tourism to a level which is going to not impact them totally. Things like COVID could have really damaged resilience if that was not being looked after by some of the operators, for example. So I think between the cultural aspects and any heritage tourism that we talk about, it is the responsibility, of course, of the operator, because if you are sending a traveler to a very well-known destination, then you are just adding more to the volume. But if you are sending and taking an initiative to send a guest to a relatively unknown destination where you are even helping that destination to be developed, then I think a part of the responsibility lies with the operators to take that and, work around the communities for the benefits, but equally make sure that your work is not carrying the negative impacts to that region. So I think it's certainly a matter of responsibility.
Correct. I think responsibility in this case is entirely on the operators, because the way they move is how things will be defined in the future. Meenakshi, if you would like to add something to this. You're on mute. You're on mute.
I'm so sorry. So I completely agree with what Manisha, said. And also the fact that, the government is really trying to create alternative destinations. We all have identified and added to those destinations, in fact, in within the country. I'll just give you an example of a place called Valparai, in case if you all have heard. It's a very beautiful destination which has just come up now in Tamil Nadu, where people were wanting to go to Ooty, people were wanting to go to Kunur, people were wanting to go to, everybody is just running and going Puducherry. So there's a beautiful destination that's come up. The moment you start, the moment you start talking about those destinations is where you feel that there's a scare of people then going to those destinations, and again it becomes the same place. We know what's happening with Himachal today. We know what's happening with Dehradun today. In case if you see, these destinations were nascent few years back, right? When we all started knowing about these destinations, as you already have mentioned about revenge tourism post COVID. Now, the idea, the responsibility is on all of us. It's not only the operators, or it's not only the government with the policies. It lies with all of us. But, as I said, uh, we are promoters of responsible tourism. When we say that, as a traveler, what am I doing? Am I identifying, because I want just the value for my money that I'm going to spend. I need everything within that cost that that I have, and I'll put that thing on the operator to give me everything in within that cost. So all of those things all put together, we are putting a lot of load on one destination. Yes, of course, as much as we know that there are alternate destinations to be identified, and there are a lot of alternate destinations that are being identified. Also, the fact is that, as Manisha also mentioned, that there is a carrying capacity to any destination or any place for that matter. While we were in during COVID, we all were really wanting to travel. We also started with the concept of understanding, stay a little longer. How to kind of familiarize yourself with one destination, be there, spend time with locals, stay there for a little more time, and not come back in hurry. Since we all had the opportunities to kind of work from home, kids were not going school, all classes were online. It gave us an opportunity to get ourselves accustomed and know the destinations really well. But that doesn't mean uh, you know that doesn't mean that we really I wouldn't want to use the word abuse, but we're actually abusing the places where we are going. In case if we see the kind of responsibility that we are taking in preserving, even if you go to a rural place, I mean, rather than uh, staying close to the nature, we want all the facilities to be given. And that's where the operators are also kind of finding it difficult. Because today I was reading an article where, the local authorities have given, uh, uh, you know, uh, appointments to the private operators to come and open, uh, restaurants and homestays in the locality where there are already. It's just a very small village, which is just about with 500-600 people. So there is a question, and the responsibility lies with all of us. There are certainly there are a lot of opportunities that are available for all of us, but we need to really find out as to what and how much do we do. I mean, we need to do an analysis and you know um, uh, an identification for ourselves as to where is the opportunity that lies ahead of us. And we might feel like the way Arjun was mentioning about Run of Kutch. Arjun, to add uh, to your thing that we are taking our responsible tourism initiative, and this year we are hosting our responsible tourism awards and summit in Run of Kutch itself. So so I mean, I understand, when you say that there are very few operators out there are very few opportunities. But then the idea is that let's do a brainstorming. Do we want to actually make them another Himachal? Do we want to make them another Manali? Do we want to make them another Shimla? I was in Shimla last week and I was really surprised, and I was, my heart was really bleeding as to this was not the Shimla that I knew and we've seen from our childhood, where we used to love driving to in the hills, and there was a beautiful feeling about traveling in hills. It's not there. I mean, everything that you see around is of people were just there, as if it was a fair that was there, and every other place in hills is like that. So the debate is as to, even if we create alternate destinations, even when we talk about our culture, even when we talk about preserving our heritage, how do we go about it? Are we conscious? Uh, and as I said, it's not just one-way process. It's not just few of us activists or government initiatives that will be a part of it. How do we make it a larger conversation? Uh, how do we get everyone together? I guess, that's very important.
Very, very, very aptly put, Meenakshi. I think over here, in that case, we're looking at a confluence or maybe a way to reconcile the two contradictory, the warring factions of tourism at the moment, where we have the traditional infrastructure in place, but we also have enterprises, smaller ones, coming up with responsible ideas, sustainable practices to come together to a point where they collaborate, right? And we get the right set of people, like Sharad had mentioned while introducing himself about identifying opportunities. And that really struck with me, because how do you identify opportunity in tourism? How do you reconcile the two things which are completely opposite to each other, right? That are so different. There's a huge gap. There's a big difference between how a responsible tourism setup works and how the traditional tourism setup works. How do we bring them together, and how do we identify that opportunity, right? And since we are talking about building enterprise and building Bharat, so I'm going to now, uh, you know, narrow it down to understanding, how do we come up with branding strategies? Of course, how do we show it to the people? How do we talk about it to the people? And of course, how do we practice it, right? So, what do you think could be a possible way of looking at this? What could be the possible solutions to find a reconciliation between the two factions over here?
Yeah, so Shweta, I mean, we are looking at when we are talking about sustainability, we are all looking at the problems, and I think I'm not the expert in the travel, but I think just by listening the problems, you're coming across that what kind of opportunities could have been there, and then you also come across those solutions, and now we think of how those solutions could be scaled. So like when we talk about let's talk about if a Indian um, tourist wants to explore an Indian destination, uh, and then we all know that we have been traveling and then experience has changed. Now, to elevate our experience, you have to customize that trip, customize that travel itinerary. And now what uh, companies and new emerging travel entrepreneurs have started doing is that they have, let's say if you want to travel in Himachal, they will not take you to Shimla or they will not take you to Manali, but they'll create a more unique experience for you by taking you to treks where nobody is going or taking you to villages where nobody is staying. And then those opportunities are coming up. So we have seen like emergence of creator-led trips being organized, which is a very small micro entrepreneurship being done. Now, small micro entrepreneurs emerging there, and then there could be a platforms opportunity that, okay, someone who would collaborate and who will aggregate all such opportunities which is coming in, and I can go to a platform and discover that, okay, who is creating a custom experience for me in Kerala. And there are some people who have started doing it. So one problem leads to a solution, uh, and then another solution will impart more problems. We will say that, okay, those villages are also having traffic, and then we will see that newer states will come up with the new opportunities. Similarly, like we will see like the culture of Airbnb is increasing a lot now. I mean, already increased and then becoming mainstream. And then how do we how do we teach someone, like not lot of tourists are sustainable centric. They are not planning to stay or plan a sustainable trip when they are planning for a travel. Now, some interesting initiatives could be that, okay, when you're designing stays, you bring them and you bring an experience of sustainability. Like if you're living in a home on a trip, you introduce ideas about how you can simple, small initiatives of sustainability in that house, which people can learn also while they're traveling, and that experience can also enable them to adopt sustainability practices at their homes. So this could be a very custom experience, and then what you remember from a trip is that what you are learning new, what you're experiencing for the first time. So very unique experiences, opportunities coming in. So someone like now the problem there was earlier, like if you look at 5 years down before, people were not very much using Airbnbs or other platforms. Now they're mainstream. Now what is needed is that what kind of properties are being made, and what kind of homeowners are designing it. So some education is needed on that aspect, but people can create or micro entrepreneurs can create solutions around this. Then there are global platform who are aggregating experiences. So one is itinerary, and then second is experiences. So let's say when I was in Beer for my last trip, so there are I think few years ago, Beer is famous for the paragliding sports, and then people who are coaching, who are training and teaching paragliding, they have several ideas that, okay, I want to do something like this. That if some 10 foreign tourists are coming in, I want to take them to villages. Now there are several people who have ideas who can create custom experiences, but there is no bridge between a tourist and a local experience creator. So there are some companies who are already solving this, who are aggregating experiences on global level. Platforms like Klook, what they're doing, some people have India have started doing that to do, if you're going to hills, there are different experiences. If you're going to beaches, there are different experiences. So I think if we look at the problems, we as an entrepreneur, one should look at them opportunistically. There is great work being done by media and content creators to spread awareness that, okay, what is the problem. Now, job of an entrepreneur is to understand that problem and find a solution for it. So everyone has to do their job, and then the entrepreneurs who will find this problem and who will find solutions of this problem, and those solutions, if they would be scalable, they would always be able to attract capital as well. And then there are a lot of government practices and government policies also coming in to boost travel and inward foreign travel also. So you have to devise a solution, which is so there are layers. There are micro entrepreneurs who are creating solutions, and they will make a good lifestyle business, and there would be scalable businesses that can be created who will aggregate all of these in different domains of tourism. So I think even just by listening on this call, and then people who have deeper understanding, and on from my own personal experiences and some of the startups that we have evaluated in the travel space, I think combinedly looking at, there are a lot of opportunities in the way India's tourism is increasing. We should look at it that how we can still we are on number 10 in terms of tourism GDP globally. So even being such a large country, we are at number 10 in terms of tourism GDP, and we are still concerned about that there is rush on our famous tourism spots. So we are not even one or second or third, and then also we are struggling. So there is so much of problem, and we can find solutions here.
That was a wonderful, I think, a wonderfully summarized long list of solutions that I'm sure our viewers must have gotten some insight from, because it was not just one solution. You did mention so many different opportunities. Like the problems that we discussed in the first half are the exact basis and foundation for where we, fish out our solutions. All the problems will come down to solutions. That was so beautifully put, Sharad. Thank you so much. Now, in terms of looking at, now I'm going to summarize two questions into one, 2 pointers. One is bringing out innovative branding strategies to promote a kind of tourism that balances, people's or our travelers' needs with the need of the earth, with the need of this planet, because climate cost is going to be a big problem, right? I mean, we are already seeing the kind of calamities coming up. So how do we bring about those innovative branding strategies? And number two, in terms of funding and investment opportunities. And especially Arjun and Sharad here, I think they'll be able to give us a lot more insight. And Manisha and Meenakshi might be able to tell us about the brands that, of course, you have built and brands that you have seen growing. How did they figure out a way to bring these kind of the right set of investment opportunities for their brands, especially when they're venturing into something very, very new, right? So please enlighten us.
Yeah. So, for investment opportunities, what you said, as I said in my earlier perspective, that innovation is the key. In India, what's required is, rather than copy pasting what the big enterprises are doing and just implementing it, innovation is the key. Innovation can be at a very, very grassroots level. As I said, I will give you a few examples. There is a company based out of Hyderabad who have integrated themselves with all the airlines. And when in airlines, when few of the seats go empty, at the last moment they flash out huge discount sales, because anyways those seats are empty. They have integrated with all the airlines and developed a technology wherein they are giving huge discounts only at a 6 hours, 12 hours before the departure time of the flight. So they came up with this small innovation. There is another company who is actually exploring and finding out such unexplored destinations. They are going there and making a homestay type of experiences. So they go and speak with the individual, old age couples who are living alone, and they say that let us, if you are okay, we will bring in students of your universities, colleges, and they are tying up mostly with the colleges and universities to give them that experience. So something which is not done before, something which is very innovative, and something which can even be a good revenue model. All this is, it sounds good, but it also should have a commercial and revenue model which is backed by the commercial aspect of it. So keeping sustainability at its core, as what we have discussed earlier, and everyone has given some beautiful perspectives. You need to get into that innovation part. What is normally happening, if there are in travel, there are two big associations in India. One is TAFE, which is called Travel Agent Federation of India, and second one is TAI, which is called Travel Agent Association of India. There are more than 15,000 travel agents who are part of this association body, which generally represents to the government for every new things and new updates which they have, or any challenges which they are facing. These associations should promote some innovative ideas, because all these companies are running a very traditional business. They are doing hotel bookings or railway bookings or flight tickets. But what, as probably Manisha rightly said, that the tour operator is responsible for bringing out that sustainability and that change. So they should come up with this innovation. It would be even be helpful to them. That would create a new revenue model, a new profit perspective for them if they start exploring these opportunities. In innovation can be tech based, it can be a unique idea wherein they can target the demographics which has yet not been targeted. There are so many schools and colleges, everyone goes for picnic or off-sites trips. I don't know a company which specifically target on them, which tell them that we'll give you a very good unexplored place, a safe destination, a budget-friendly destination, wherein they will tie up with the universities, schools, and colleges. This can be a model, and we are happy to invest in a company that comes up with this type of idea. Something which has not been done before, something which can be a sustainable, profitable model. People are there with the bags, they want to invest, but it should hit them, first sight. That's what's important. Something like this pops up.
Yeah, I just want to come in here in terms of, your question about the branding, because I think branding as such for even an organization like ours, it needs, time for building up that reputation in the market, because especially in case of tourism, as you all know, I mean, that we are flooded with all kind of companies, operators, offerings. First thing I think which is most important is that any consumer or any guest who comes to a region for tourism purpose is primarily going to come for a good experience, right? It can't be by any chance, it cannot be compromised just because it has a social purpose. So first thing to look after is that. Second thing is in terms of the brand building, it's a lot to do with how you're transparent with your work, how you are honest with what you're offering. So, I have my reservations sometimes when we are offering, for example, some very remote regions, to guests, and you are primarily only relying on online media for booking. So because there's no link between the hosts and the guests, for example. So this is a key problem. And branding, which will develop well over a period of time, would be something which the guest or the traveler will associate with. So why would you trust a brand? Is only because, first of all, you've had a good experience. Second is that you know that whatever you have said, you've delivered. There's no gap in between expectations and realities on ground. So I think that's crucial to brand building. And third thing is that, of course, what is the way of what are the principles on which you're setting up the business? That goes not just for your own business as an operator, but also for the communities or the local people whom we are working with, because eventually you can't also compromise on every principle that you've set. That is where I feel that consumer choice is important, but so is the importance of host's preference of what he can allow or not allow. So I think that, and those things are not, I again don't put the entire responsibility on the traveler, because the fact is that if there are no options available to a traveler, he's bound to choose a non-responsible way, right? So he has to choose. If there is a choice between responsible and not being responsible, I think you would know what is responsible to do, but there should be an option for the traveler to choose from. I mean, a very simple example is water bottle, which I think everybody of us know. Mineral water, everywhere we go, we oppose it. We mention it to the hotels we go to. We make it a point. I've seen in Outlook, they never serve in bottles of plastic in all their conferences. So every one of us are taking steps. But if you go to a remote region, will I feel confident that the alternative for me is, good for me? I wouldn't fall sick, for example. So I think the alternatives, the responsibility lies on the hosts and the operators, that yes, we have an alternative. We have boiled the water and filtered it. So you be ensured that it will be good for you. You won't have any problem. I think that is where the options lie with the hosts and the operators also. So as I said, that brand building will depend on all these factors, and it will take a time. I mean, it won't happen overnight, because the fact is that the traveler who's coming also has many offerings. Even choosing a particular operator or a holiday for a destination has become a very difficult job now. If you go online and you look for places, you will have hundreds listed and you really don't know which one to choose. And everybody probably also have a sustainable tag. So, part of it also is greenwashing. How do you do that? So I think a lot of awareness around, certifications, for example, or a lot of awareness about how the travelers and the tour operators have to take responsibility. And then, of course, because you have set some principles for your experiences, the travelers are bound to also then start taking this as a normal. It is not, that choosing between not being responsible and being responsible. It will become a normal. I think it's a long journey. I don't say it's just coming there. We'll all have to work together, as Meenakshi is right, that we all have to put our responsibilities together towards that direction. But it will happen for sure.
Thank you so much. I think Meenakshi wants to say something because you
No,
are
I was
unmuted.
just wanting to add to what Manisha was saying, that,
Yeah.
and definitely what Sharad had mentioned. Brand building definitely takes a lot of time. It's for sure. But when we are working on these kind of projects for ourselves, and we know that, we're working with host and the travelers, there are certain things that we need to focus on, which probably will help. I mean, as you know, I'm a fan of Steve Jobs, and as he used to say that, uh, the wonderful person is one who tells the story beautifully. So we all have to, in a sense, when we start talking, when we start telling our stories well, our brand stories well, and and in an emotional way, when it connects with the community, it really works for the community. We take care of the three aspects of a traveler, which is their pre-trip, in-trip, and post-trip experiences. I guess we're doing fantastic job, and the brand really will fall in place once we start taking care and when we start working in these directions. It's just about storytelling of our brand and just connecting to the communities that we are working with. It really works very well. That's what I wanted to add. And of course, we are there with you.
Correct. In fact, brand narrative plays a big role, no matter what brand, what industry. The way you portray your brand has a huge impact. Now, does that impact also come into place when it comes to investment, especially Sharad, because you are a venture capitalist and Arjun, you come from finance background. What would you suggest when it comes to these, upcoming brands in tourism, looking for the right kind of investment opportunities, looking for the right fit?
Yeah, so I mean, at a early stage, brand is one of the elements which could be critical. I mean, mostly at the time when the company is raising their first round of investment, they might not be even having that size of a budget for branding. But these days, a lot of awareness companies are doing through the communities that they're creating, the communities of travelers, the communities of followers. So a lot of new ventures, not only into travel industry, but in other industries also, they are coming that they're already leading a large community, several WhatsApp groups, several communities who are concerned about a particular thought. Maybe a community of trekkers, a community of leisure travelers, a community of readers. And if you maintain a community and that is concerned about certain causes, they would obviously be able to leverage on that when they build a solution around it. So you would have noticed like people who used to create a lot of travel content on social media have started doing themselves organizing trips and hosting trips and creating travel experiences. And that is happening because they already have a large followership. So they do not have to spend anything. They created content. They concentrated the followers around a certain theme of the content, and on those themes and experience on those themes they have started creating monetizing them. So this is a very cost-effective marketing strategy. But otherwise, I mean, and you can see some very most premium examples of sustainability and very those kind of experiences. Let's say there are resorts. There is a global resort chain called Aman Resorts. It's a super ultra premium resorts, and if you look at it, it's very much of like an earthy and natural experiences that you will get there. So how you promote and brand yourself, it all depends on how you communicating your message. So communication is critical. But from investment point of view, primarily, I think what matters is the founder's clarity of the problem. Like, okay, what problem they're going to solve. It's not because it's in train, but they understand that this is a problem, and a lot of consumers are concerned about solving that. So there is a urgent need of solving that problem is something that is critical. Second, once the founder has the clarity of the problem, if the problem is large enough to actually be investable via venture capital. So all problems are not, all solutions or all businesses are not VC fundable business. That doesn't mean that they are not good businesses, but they do not require capital. But businesses that require external capital should be solving a larger problem so that those who are investing can make money also eventually. And when they are inclined with social causes, you have additional number of investors who have certain focus on social impact. They could also be a prospect fit for you. So you can widen your approach towards the more VCs who can be participative. So I think in early stages and when someone is thinking of the idea, I think doing a thorough research about it, or you have been into it in this industry or having a very good clarity, that is most important. And then third thing is from investing lenses that what you're going to do with that capital. So a lot of times we actually want to raise capital just for the sake of raising capital, that we have raised an external capital without exactly knowing that what I will do with the capital, where I will reach that capital. So I think I've tried to summarize this in a very fundamental way, that what a founder should be aware of. So clarity of the problem, scalability of the problem, and then size of that market, and then what are you going to do with the capital. If you have that visibility, if you look at the business from a VC lens, you will be able to answer all of that. And if not, if it doesn't fit in this criteria, then again you can create a beautiful business, because the good thing about travel industry is that in most cases you will get advance payments, you will be cash flow positive. So most businesses, I've seen my friends companies who have reached to 40-50 crore of ARR, annual revenues, without even raising any capital. And they're not coming from a fancy pedigree also. So it's not because of that, but they understood that what the business wants. So there are several businesses who have done well in group tourism, several businesses who are doing well in India. You would find a lot of chains who have created 40-50 home properties, placing them on Airbnbs. I mean, there are several businesses that have emerged which do not require capital, and they're doing wonderfully well. But so I think this clarity is something what an investor looks at before investing. And if the founder has that visibility and understanding, they will be able to save a lot of their time.
Absolutely, Sharad. You know, in fact, at the start of this session, there was one thought that really, I mean, it was just at the back of my head, the one idea, vision. When we do not create the right kind of vision, I don't think we have any direction at all, either in terms of brand strategy or the image that we are creating, or in fact, investment at all, right? So I think setting the right kind of vision, and not just on a micro level in terms of businesses, but a vision in terms of where we see the nation going. You know, do we see the country going with tourism at the moment? So building that large vision and making everyone else a part of it, collaborating over competing with the fellow startups or businesses. I think for me that would be a great way to start, because in that case even investment becomes much easier to leverage into our entire ecosystem. I think
Correct.
Arjun has something to say.
Yeah, so Sharad has covered almost everything what we need from the investment and perspective. But what Shweta, you said rightly, that if it's a joint efforts wherein everyone is been feeling that pride of being part of this journey of creating this tourism ecosystem. And I will give you an example. There was this Making India initiative by the government. The Making India initiative, the logo, they asked for various college and university students to come up with the various logo options, and the best one was selected. So I know one of my a startup with whom I was mentoring, it was into digital marketing. That startup had made one of the logo, and he was feeling so proud that I am contributing to the entire government of India's initiative. And the person whose logo was selected, government paid him well, good amount. So just as an anecdote and an example to this, that in this tourism journey, tourism ecosystem, as earlier beach, the Goa was the only option to go to beach. But as rightly mentioned by Meenakshi or Manisha, probably, that even in southern part of India, there are various new destinations which are coming up, which should be marketed not only by tour operators, but also by the travelers who are visiting there. In terms of, in this influencers age, every story which was again, very nicely covered by Manisha, the stories play a very big role. I remember that when any destination, if I want to choose, my wife comes up that, a particular relative went there and they had this beautiful experience. So once you hear these experiences, this makes you eager, this makes you drives you to go visit a particular destination. As from coming back to the investment perspective, as Meenakshi is visiting the Run of Kutch, I will say that, in Run of Kutch, I will, as an example, there are so many small villages wherein the villagers were facing tremendous hardship post the earthquake in 2002. In 2002, Kutch faced the most draconian earthquake, and 70% of the Kutch was damaged. And then this tourism sector, government supported and tourism sector boosted, and now every local is the brand ambassador of Kutch. If you go there and if you meet the poorest person there, who is, probably doing the cleaning and housekeeping job, he is so proud. He is so much proud that, my land, my village is now famous across the world. And this pride is something which we can give to these locals, these villagers, wherein we can give them a stage to the new travelers and the young travelers who are looking for the new opportunities. But we as an investor, particularly, I look forward to this kind of bridges, the company which can create bridge for this type of opportunities, wherein the place is wanting for them to create a platform wherein new travelers and also the foreign travelers can visit India. You see, any foreigners who come, he visits Delhi, Jaipur, Agra, and he goes back. At max, they will go to Goa. where there are probably 10x, 20x better places in our country. All of us will agree to it. We need to create that platform, and we need to create that very clearly and in a very subtle manner also. The branding which has been now being done by the state governments like Gujarat, like Andhra Pradesh, or even West Bengal, this brandings which are done are creating some impact. But as I said, we need innovation. We need startups in this field wherein they can create noise. It's not only about being a travel company as a startup. You can also be a company which create this noise, which creates the footfalls for this travel companies and for these locations, which can go a very long way. And again, keeping that sustainability at the core of it, as Sharad shared about the Aman resorts, all the ITC hotels across the country, they are LEED certified to be sustainable, means they are net carbon positive. Then I stayed in a hotel in Kolkata of ITC, and they mentioned in every room that we are net carbon positive. So I was bit intrigued, and I went to the Google and did a bit of research. It's actually not that difficult. If any hotel or any resort want to be a LEED certified carbon positive, it's not that difficult at all. So that so charity starts from home. If we make sure to create that kind of, as a tour operator, as a traveler, and as a government, we make sure that the hotels first of all start being net carbon positive. Just imagine thousands of hotels and they become net carbon positive, what impact it will have. And it's actually not that difficult. It's not that expensive also to do that. The intention and the execution is required for doing it. So I guess I covered many points, but over to you, Shweta. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think we have had some very, very insightful points from different experiences across, industries and all converging to the point of tourism. Now, we do have one more point in the agenda. Of course, we are way past the time limit that we had. We started late. But the point was about how do we bring together community, the local communities, leverage communities as the core while we build our business, especially in terms of tourism. I mean, something that I observed, for example, if I may just take a minute to share this experience. When I was working in Darjeeling, I worked with a community-based ecotourism startup, and there we were working in a small village. And when I visited the Darjeeling town, the one common problem that every localite would say is the businesses here are all owned by people who are not native to this land. And that is a problem everywhere. And the problem with that aspect is what? They employ people from outside. They stop employing localites. And the employment opportunities for localites are limited to, very, how do I put it? Jobs that do not pay well in the end, like cleaning or just being in the kitchen. Instead of going beyond and giving them or creating leaders out of the local communities out there. So, what are your thoughts on how do we bridge that gap? How do we bring these bigger companies to employ people from that specific land where they are at? If you're in Uttarakhand, then employ people from Uttarakhand. Like, how does that gap work? What do you think? How can that community resource can be leveraged? That will benefit not just the community, but also the startup in the end.
Yeah, I'd like to come in here. In terms of, the community, because I didn't mention about the model that we follow, because it's strongly in favor of and advocating strongly, even with the government, about the purpose of having community-owned and locally employed people in the enterprises that the rural villages we develop for them. So our main problems, even when we started, were, as you said very rightly, that in the remote areas, in the rural areas, even in the smaller towns, for that matter, people were actually coming and buying land and making hotels and resorts, and all the benefits were primarily being taken off by the other people other than the locals. So actually, they were totally bypassed. There was not even a small trickle impact going to the local communities. So first thing to ensure that would be certainly setting up a model. And when I say a model, I don't like the word model too much, but I'm using it here in the concept of, when you find a problem, you also have to give a solution to that problem. And if you create even a small example of something which is working on ground for the community, which is, owned by the community. So even for us, battling the model of homestay, for example, even now, if you see that every place you go to now, homestay has no clear definitions. It's becoming very fragmented. We are also observing wherever we are working with the state governments. Now we are also working with governments in various villages in India. And we have observed that the policy itself has gaps because, there is no common policy which is followed across the country for homestays, for example. So convincing an entire community to come together to share benefits. First of all, it dilutes the impact. So, there would be maybe resistance in the beginning because anyone would prefer to have income to himself or herself rather than getting that diluted when you work in a community-based model. But if you do set it up over a period of time, the communities do understand the value of that because, they understand that here, the responsibility of, for example, looking after guests doesn't lie with only me or him. It lies with the entire village. And, at every day of your life, you would not like to host guests in your house. So I think community-based models will be very successful because they are not just. In fact, we are very very proud to share that in two of the state governments have now incorporated this model into their regions. In Chhattisgarh, where we are working now, in Madhya Pradesh, where we are working in a rural area. Having seen the model working in our first set of villages, Binsa, for last 20 years, and talking to the communities, it is a matter of initial time when you have to really work hard with the local people, explaining why this model will work in an longer run. But if you do work hard in the beginning, and I think they get used to that model so much that even after that, if they get mature enough to handle the mainstream tourism coming to them, they will be in a much better position to handle that tourism flow than what they are at the beginning. So even now, when we propagate or even help the state governments to set up homestays also, we have focused that the initial part is always to bring the community together, to make them understand the dangers of tourism first thing, that there can be many dangers which can come to your region, and giving them, examples. Also ensuring that they understand that the community building will not only help them to share the benefits, but also the responsibilities which come along with it, So in that sense, if you do that, then a community-based tourism model, whether it's in the towns, whether it's in the smaller villages, overall, in the longer run, it will become more sustainable. And, all the fragmented models, this will also help a lot to the consumers. We are recently also starting to work in Sundarbans, for example, where we have seen fragmentation of work. So even the consumer is very confused about what to expect, because you really don't have any standardization. So when in these kind of community models, the other benefit is for the travelers, because they know that there are certain standards to which they will be expecting, and they will be delivered the similar experiences. So there are a lot of advantages of community tourism, and though the path is the difficult one that you choose, you don't if you set up individual enterprises, always is maybe a shorter path, but long-term impactful positively for the communities and for being sustainable. I think this is something we would be advocate, and it has been tested in various states now. So I think this is the move. I would say the way forward. I'm not against any homestay models personally. I like the model, but I would say that if you are ready to bring the community together at the first time, you let them understand the realities of tourism, then they are more prepared to go single and do it. You know what I mean? So we don't have to then keep educating every community about what's good and bad, because they themselves learn that over a period of time.
That makes sense, and that comes from experience. So thank you so much. Now, if anybody else would like to share anything on this, or else we can all, maybe very succinctly, if we could all just share what our vision for tourism in India is. Like you already mentioned, community tourism at the forefront, taking the lead, and being the roadmap towards a sustainable format. If everyone else on the panel, Sharad, Meenakshi, Arjun, could also give us an idea or an understanding of what your vision for tourism in India is like, as concluding remarks.
Yeah, so I think from our view, I think there is a lot of opportunity emerging in the tourism space. As we mentioned, that you talk about tourism and you can find about inefficiencies existing here, and then opportunities, and then readiness of people to pay also for better experiences. So there is a paying capability, as well as there are inefficiencies which can be solved. So there is tremendous opportunities, not only from Indian tourists and also from foreign tourists coming to India and Indian tourists going abroad in several fronts, from grassroots level to actually core tech levels. So I think there is a lot of opportunity, and that opportunity has grown only with time. So I believe that a lot of VC capital will also flow in this space. And I know my other friends in VC who are looking at innovative approach which is coming in this sector. So very optimistic about the space, and it would be a cherry on the cake if this all scale comes along with the right practices and right sustainable practices in the country. So yeah, I think that's my concluding remark.
Thank you so much, Sharad. Please, Meenakshi and Arjun.
Yeah. So for all of us, I guess 24-25 promises to be a great year. And according to UN also, tourism numbers have already touched the pre-pandemic levels. And I guess as we move forward, we'll also see number growth. So good news for everyone, for all of us. Now, a very good news is that sustainability and responsible tourism are not niche terms anymore now. You know, people do know what a sustainable tourism is, how to travel sustainability. They look for, not all of them, but most of the travelers look for sustainable options of traveling. So, the all the more good news is that union government and state governments have also started including sustainability as a part of their policies and documents. So, as we all know, we've discussed it a lot that I mean, the future of travel would be slow travel, and that's how we would want it to be. You know, we want people to relate with the culture. We want people to actually spend a lot of time. We want people to connect with the communities, know our culture better, and that's where slow travel is, and that's where we all will grow. You know, and the innovative ideas that we have, the kind of startups that we want to invest in. The idea is that, again, I'll come back to the same thing. What we've been saying that, the communities are to be celebrated, and the communities are to be, there's a lot of capacity building that's to be done for the communities. As we say, we all are talking about, the popular destinations. We are all talking about, I'll just give you a very small example. I was in Kasauli the other day, uh, and on the Lower Mall Road and the Upper Mall Road, it was all the pizzas and pastas and what not. There are pubs that are made on the Mall Road, which was not our culture, right? So we've lost our hills culture somewhere. So we need to go back and get back to slow travel and understand our culture well. What do we tell? You know, it's the same kind of noise at the hills today. So there's something that's calling us, all of us, and as I said, that since tourism is increasing, I guess there are more opportunities ahead of us where we can capitalize, and that's where we are. Good news for everyone.
Correct. Reversing the gear. I think that's the way to go. All right. Arjun, if you're here. Um, I don't think he's here. Manoj, if you could take over. I'm sorry. I think the first thing that I should have done was introduce myself, which I did not for the longest time, and then I realized it just now. I'm Shweta, and of course, I was the moderator for today. I have worked in the community tourism industry for 5 years. I was building a startup with a team of three, but of course, life took me somewhere else, and right now I'm in Delhi as a GRE verbal faculty. So, a complete shift of events. But then, yes, traveling is, especially sustainable and slow travel, is at the core of who I am. And interacting with communities is my forever most favorite part of my travels. So thank you for making me a part of this. Manoj, over to you. Thanks for being a wonderful, wonderful panel and for beautiful insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sweta, for
Thank you.
writing it so well. Before we just move out, I'd like to extend my gratitude to all our panelists to join here and all. So we are concluding the third session here, and just with your permission, I would like to have 2 minutes. I'll have 2 minutes here. We have Mr. Anand Prasad, who is the founder of Mud Packers. So we are doing this tourism talk in association with Mud Packers as well as Pet Road. And Mr. Anand, sir, you can come live and say a few words. So he is the person behind this and who helped me to connect with you and all.
Hi everyone. This was really nice listening to all of you. And it's actually Manoj who has put all the efforts. I have just kind of guided him through the sessions. But NAIC Nalanda has very rightfully started this series, webinar series on tourism landscape in India, connecting the professionals and eminent personalities from different aspect of tourism. So thanks Manoj for doing this and the whole team of AIS Nalanda. And this is the third in the series, but this was my favorite one. Like it was really insightful to listen to everyone. And Arjun, he was too good. I was not expecting someone from startup sector to talk about tourism so much. And of course, I have seen works of Manisha ji and Meenakshi, and so I'm really always I always appreciate their work. So it was really nice to listen to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anand. With this, we'll conclude this session. Thank you, Manisha ma'am and Meenakshi ma'am, as well as Sweta for
Thank you.
really coordinate this one. And obviously, Arjun sir, and over to you. We can conclude it here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.